high school football preview show, Horse. We're going to be going over all the games in the area that are going to be coming up. It's going to be a fun time.
Yeah, after a really exciting week one, where everyone was just excited to get out there and play, teams should start being able to settle in a little bit, play better football every week as they get more practice and more games under them. And there are actually quite a few big matchups early in the season.
There's a bunch of big-time matchups with a bunch of big-time players playing in them, and it's going to be fun to go over. And one of those matchups we're going to get off to right now because we're going to be talking about Lynden versus Tokay. So, Horse, both teams coming off big wins. Tokay defeated West, and Lynden defeated, perennial power Tracy. So both teams coming off those big wins. What are we going to see in this game? What is the big-time matchups that we get to look forward to?
Well, it's kind of a contrast in styles in these games. Both teams scored 50-plus points in their openers. Tokay did it mostly on the ground, running the ball. They ran for 338 yards as a team. They were led by Joseph Filippini.
It's pretty good.
Good back. 183 yards and 5 touchdowns. And then Jose Bravo added 55 yards and a touchdown. So obviously the big key for them is, can they get that big line of Lynden? Can they get push against it? Can they beat it? And can they get a little more out of their passing game that only produced around 50 yards last week? Now I understand you're blowing a team out by 50 points, not really looking to pass too much. So I'm not saying they can't do it, but they're going to probably have to throw a little more than that with success to stay in this game. They're led up front by lineman Daru Walia. He's a big guy, good player. He's going to have his hands full this week, though.
Yeah, Roman Amperosa is going to be a real problem for that entire Tokay line to stop. That dude is an absolute beast up front, and he's going to be getting in the backfield and causing problems. And you would think that the main concern for Tokay would be stopping Lynden's offense, but it might actually, be the other way around, being able to contain that defensive line. This is going to be an ultimate test for Tokay on both sides of the ball, Horse. And if Tokay wasn't going to have a hard enough time stopping that line, they're going to have a hard enough time on the offense, or stopping Jonah Coleman and Kenyon Nelson and what they do. It's going to be hard to stop them.
Yeah, Roman Amperosa is probably the best lineman in the league, or in the Lodi Stockton area.
You think?
He's definitely in the conversation.
He's in the conversation for sure.
I know last year Coach Mike Holst of Tokay told me himself that Roman was one of the best defensive linemen he's ever faced. George Duenas of Lodi also quickly mentioned Roman when I asked him about who were some really good players they faced. So he's a problem. Also up front on offense, they have Alex Sandoval, who goes about 6'5", 310, and Kobe Amperosa, who's about 6'3", 310.
That's it?
And
these guys are huge.
They've got the smaller guard, our guy, the Baconator, Isaias Lopez.
Yeah, Baconator.
Goes about 260, and they make him look like a little guy. And the problem with that, after you get through all that beef up front, Lynden is loaded at the skill positions.
They are. Jonah Coleman is going to be so hard to stop. I think looking at it from the outside, you want to see Jonah Coleman and Joseph Filippini go at it, because these are two premier running backs in the area. But Tokay's got all they can handle, just stopping this dual threat quarterback as well. Man, this is going to be hard for them to do, because Lynden is stout up front and they're going to be moving people around, and then they got good skill players blocking too, receivers blocking downfield. They got B. Lee blocking in that H-back, and then inline sometimes. He's big and strong. It's going to be a tough matchup for Tokay's defense against Lincoln's powerful offense, and the spread, because they can do both. They can run and they can pass.
Yeah, Tokay has a solid defensive backfield. They're led by Filippini at safety.
Right.
And they have Atticus Salazar at corner. They have AJ Galvin out there at safety. So they have some good players out there. But their hands are going to be full, because this is not just a two-man skill position team with Kenyon Nelson and Jonah Coleman, who just committed to Arizona. They've also got Jamarion Briggs, Fidel Pitts, Marco Simpson, Brandon Lee, as you mentioned.
Yep.
and the transfer over from St. Mary's, Tim Thomas III. So I mean, they really are they're gonna have to put in work to slow down this Lincoln offense. It's explosive, it's fast, and then they got the big dudes up front.
Yeah, I like Jamarion Briggs. I mean, I just seeing him grow up and seeing what he can do. He's a fantastic player. I look forward to seeing him in this game and kind of him break out this year because he's getting recognition outside, and I want everyone to know who he is because he's another D1 talent.
Well, someone knows who he is because he just picked up an offer from UCLA this week.
Good. He should get more of those. He should be getting more offers.
So, yeah, right now they have 3 guys with Power 5 conference offers at the skill positions, and there's probably a couple more guys in there with that kind of ability. I think it's going to be an exciting game, but Tokay's got their hands full. I'm excited to see, though, because Tokay seems like an improving team.
Yep.
They seem like they've got a lot of good players. I'm excited to see them, how they do against a team like Lincoln.
Yeah, I can't wait for all this to go down, and once it does, we will be back giving you the recap of what happened in this game with a lot of great talk about the stats and which players stood out. It's going to be a fun one. Horace, Tracy just has no easy schedule. They go from playing Lincoln to playing St. Mary's, but this is going to be one heck of a matchup. St. Mary's has already had 2 big games, one against De La Salle and the other against Jesuit. Now they're playing Tracy. There is no rest for the wicked. How do you see this game going, Horace? What are the key matchups?
Well, there's a lot of good players and good teams around here, but I think as far as a program, we can agree that St. Mary's has been the premier program in this area over the last decade or so.
Central Catholic also, I would say, would have something to say about that.
Them too. But they're definitely in the argument.
I think so.
And the year after year, they produce premier players. And Tracy's kind of gotten lost in the fold. They have quite a program themselves going over there. They run their Veer triple option, and they run it extremely well every year. They're well coached. They're usually pretty big, pretty athletic. And they generally play these teams, Lincoln, St. Mary's, they play them tough, and I know they've beaten Lincoln in the last few years. So Tracy is not a team to take lightly around here. They're led by quarterback Noah Deneau. He runs the triple option. They actually threw quite a bit in their game against Lincoln, probably because they got down early.
Yeah.
But he went 8 of 13 for 169 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, I mean, he had quite a day. They have running back Austin Hosai, who had 89 yards and 2 touchdowns. And receiver Tommy Chavez had 100 yards receiving on only 2 catches. And he had a touchdown. So, I mean, Tracy is explosive. To put up 27 points on that Lincoln team, you had a good day offensively. Yeah. Unfortunately, it looks like they struggled slowing them down, but I think a lot of people are going to have that problem this year, the way they're so stacked. And I think that's what it's going to come down to against St. Mary's, is can Tracy slow down that attack?
And that's going to be the big question. You know, you got Marshall, big-time receiver, a lot of speed. He's going to be hard. De La Salle had a hard time containing him. They got Tyree Washington in the backfield. What a runner. I mean, this guy is a compact beast. He reminds me of beast mode. Very nimble. Some great runs against Jesuit, making people miss, getting to the end zone. Those are guys on offense that are going to be hard to, stop. Also, the quarterback, Cruz Herrera, has already tossed a few touchdowns. Tyree Washington's ran for 3 touchdowns. So they got a complete group of guys that can come in there and play. And you're talking about the great talent for Tracy on offense. That's going to be hard to stop. But St. Mary's has Max Rascon, who is easily becoming one of my favorite players in the area because of how he plays and how he's a tackling machine. He's always in there competing. He does everything well. He finds the ball, creates turnovers, interception against De La Salle, fumble recovery, return for touchdown against Jesuit. Fantastic players on both sides of the ball. That's why this one's going to be fun to watch. Great coaching, great players, just a great matchup for everyone in the area. If you have a chance to live stream this one, definitely do it.
Yeah, St. Mary's, as always, very talented, very well coached. There's some other guys outside those big names. By the way, Max Rascon, we don't know you. If you see this, we want to talk to you.
Yeah, big time.
But we're big fans so far of your work out there playing. So outside of guys like Marshall and Tyree Washington, St. Mary's also has touchdown catches from Nick Murray, sophomore Nasiri Daniel, and Max Lucchesi. So that's 5 different players have caught a touchdown in 2 games. And that's what makes St. Mary's such a problem. They have so many weapons, and they have good quarterback play. They have 3 capable quarterbacks, but their main quarterback, like you said, is Cruz Herrera. On defense, the other couple guys to look out for are defensive end Jason Jacks and linebacker Isaiah Apani, who seems like the 5th Apani to come through that program in the last few years. And then up front, defensively, they're led by Hayden Jones. And offensively, they have 6'6", 320-pound Matt Cushman playing tackle. That's a big hoss. He's a problem. So this is going to be a good game. Tracy's offense, St. Mary's offense, but the key to the game is going to be, can Tracy slow down St. Mary's, and can St. Mary's slow down Tracy? Whoever plays better defense will win this game.
Watching St. Mary's offensive line as well, that you got one side that's really big and then one side that's kind of smaller, but they play with such great technique that you'll never even notice unless you're taking a look for that, looking for the size, because they hold up against great players. So when you're watching that, you see the great coaching shine through. Even when they don't have the massive guys like some of the other schools, they still get it done, and that's what's so impressive about St. Mary's and their coaching staff. In a big-time showdown in Stockton, Horst, a lot of times it doesn't get much bigger than this, especially when these guys are battling for a championship usually. This is going to be a crazy offensive battle. Stagg Delta Kings, Edison Vikings, Soul Vikes, Horst. Let's talk about these key matchups.
Yeah, this is usually a game where you need to get your popcorn ready.
Yeah.
There's offensive fireworks when these two teams meet. It's a fun game to watch if you like offense. Stagg's been a perennial good team for about the last decade now. They're always putting up big numbers, and Edison's kind of been the dominant team in the SJA the last few years since Booker Guyton's returned. He's brought, they're going to play explosive up-tempo football with him as the coach, and they're going to put points on the board. Edison has not played yet this year because there was a COVID issue with Chavez, and they did go scrimmage against McClymonds last week, but obviously no score kept in a scrimmage. Saw some clips on it. They look pretty athletic. But Stagg did play last week, and Stagg beat McNair 43-21. A little bit of a surprise that they won by that much.
Yeah, they just got a high-powered offense. They continually do this every year. They go, Tokay went up there and scrimmaged them and got, worked a little bit too. So these guys have a high-powered offense. They have Willie Turner, a guy that we're both familiar with. Used to be at Chavez, now he's at Stagg, and he is a great player, very athletic, hard to stop with the ball in his hands. And if they get him the ball, he can cause problems. Edison, on the other hand, it can stop him because they have great athletes and can play tremendous defense. But can they focus enough on him because there's all kinds of weapons on the field?
Yeah, Stagg is a little underrated for the athletes that they put out and move on to the college level. They do it a lot, and I wouldn't be shocked if a couple of these guys make it on. I know they have a big-time running back in Gabe Benton, who ran for 158 yards and 3 touchdowns last week. And their quarterback, Eric Hankins, threw for 174 yards and 2 touchdowns. So they've got some weapons on the field. I haven't got a chance to watch them yet. I'm sure they have more weapons than just those few guys. Now, Edison's kind of interesting because they had such a great year last year. They beat Lincoln in the Stockton Showdown in the playoffs in a fantastic game.
Woo, that was a good game.
And most of the focus this offseason had been on Raleigh Brown's transfer and some other issues that happened in that program, unfortunately. Most of the yards, touchdowns on that team between those few guys is either graduated or transferred. So you might think it's a down year for Edison. I don't think it's going to be that way. They returned some big-time talent, starting with big Zach Tamu on the line.
Doesn't get better than that.
That guy might have an argument for if Roman Omoprosa is the best defensive
That was
lineman.
my little hesitation.
That'd be a heck of a matchup to watch. And they added Jalen Blackshear, has transferred there from Lincoln. He played a little bit of second fiddle to Jonah Coleman over there. No disrespect to Jalen Blackshear. I coached against him in Pop Warner. We've watched him through high school. Kid is a stud. He had over 600 yards and 6 touchdowns as a sophomore at Lincoln last year. They also have local youth football legend Zane Dostie, who played JV at Edison last year, but that kid can make plays happen in a hurry.
Yeah, he's fast. And I think Blackshear is going to elevate his game. He's going to get the opportunity that he really needs. You're right. He was kind of playing there next to Jonah. They've been playing together since they were in youth football. They also played with Jaden Marshall. One heck of a team back then. And then now all 3 of those guys get to break out. I think Blackshear getting out on his own is going to be good for him, and he's going to elevate. And people are going to see how good he actually is because he's a fantastic player that maybe was in the shadow a little bit, and now he's going to break out of it. And he's going to have, a nice couple years there at Edison. And as far as Zane goes, he's fast and he can make things happen. Look for him to be out in space causing problems because he can put a move on and he can outrun people really fast. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he actually does in his first year at varsity.
And knowing our guy Booker over there and the Edison program, I guarantee you there's about 3 more guys on that team that can take the ball to the house at any moment. I'm sure we'll find out who those guys are through the year. If someone knows who those guys are, go ahead and email us, comment on here, let us know if there's someone else we're missing when we're talking about big-time players over there. But I'm sure of one thing, this is going to be a big-time game, high scoring, a game that would be really fun to watch if COVID hadn't happened.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be a good one.
One thing we know, these coaches are going to get the ball in the hands of their playmakers, and those playmakers are going to make plays, and it's going to be a nice affair to watch. Hopefully you can stream this one. It's going to be good. All right, Horse, this is going to be a fun one. Big Valley Christian against Lynden Lions. These are 2 teams we're very familiar with, and this is going to be a fun matchup to watch. Smash mouth football coming from Big Valley. Lynden better be ready.
Yeah, for those of you who are not familiar with Big Valley Christian, we've coached against them multiple times. Very well-ran program. They will come hit you in the mouth, and they will do it over and over and over. They play a old-school smash mouth brand of football, and they play it very well. They're led by running back Andrew Contreras. Last year he had over 800 yards and 16 touchdowns, and that was after their starting running back got injured 3 games into the season. So he'd probably tacked a little more onto that. But he's coming back, and if this was a full season, I'd guarantee you he was going over that 1,000-yard mark. They also bring back running back Joshua Patero, who ran for 600 yards and 8 touchdowns, kind of in a sidekick gig. So they're able to move the ball on the ground really well. And what do you think about Big Valley?
Well, they're perennial league champs. I mean, that's pretty much what they do. Brian Brookfield's got a heck of a team over there, and they build it, the right way. And they really run the ball on a whole nother level. Traps, pulling. I mean, it is fun to watch. Not so much when you're playing them, but when you're not, it's fun to watch. And I think a lot of times teams in that league don't get the respect that they deserve. Them and Stone Ridge Christian are both usually good every single year. But the reason they're good is because they have good coaching and players that are willing to do what they want, or what the coaches want. And Spencer Cox is one of those guys that stands out for me. He's a big-time defensive tackle for them. 6'3", 265 pounds. And he plays very well. He's getting a little bit of nibbles, but it's time for somebody to give this guy an offer that is worthy of his talent, because he's a good player. And every year these guys just put out great running backs and big time offensive linemen. Lynden had a little bit of problems with Lodi last week. They might have some problems with these guys too. Now, James Sherman, playing for Lynden, is very familiar with Big Valley. I guarantee he's a little concerned about this game.
Yeah, Sherman had a big game last week. He had a big year last year, and followed up with another big game last week with 147 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's a heck of a player, and he's a problem. They also, on defense, they forced 5 Lodi fumbles, so that's a big deal. They played really well. They took the ball away. They did lose the game, but like I've said previously, they acquitted themselves well against the Division I team.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting matchup for me. I feel like the battle up front's going to decide this game. Old school football. I know Lynden runs a spread and that kind of stuff, but they're going to have to stop Big Valley's O-line. They're going to have to keep them from making a push. They're going to have to stop their pullers. And it's a tall task. That's a good team. I'm really curious to see how this game goes because Lynden seems to have a little bit of the speed and athlete advantage, and Big Valley seems to have the advantage up front.
Well, Big Valley too. They'll get you bringing extra guys into the box, really loading up to stop their run, and then they'll catch you with the play action pass, and it'll be a big time play for a touchdown. Now, as far as on defense, you know as well as I do, that coaching staff is going to have a great game plan for James Sherman. They're going to be making sure that Sherman doesn't, get these easy plays or plays down the field. They will make sure they get coverage on him, and there's not going to be a lot of time for that quarterback to get the ball off for Lynden because that defensive line is very, very good every year, very well coached, and the technique is going to override anything. They're going to get in there and cause problems. So this is going to be an interesting matchup. I think Big Valley is going to be tough to beat, especially just the way that they're coached.
Yeah, if you're a fan of small town, middle America type football, including the programs, the fans, the way the stadium's set up, this is your game this week.
It's a fun place to watch a game.
It is. It really gives you that small town football feel. I know Modesto's not that small of a town, but it's a smaller school. And I'm excited to see how this one goes.
Yeah, good luck to both teams. We're looking forward to hearing what happens. Horst West played Tokay last week. Now they play the other school from Lodi, the Lodi Flames, who just got done with a big-time game against Lynden, a big-time win. And now they're going to play the West Wolfpack. Let's talk about this game.
Okay, so we'll start out with West here. Started out with a rough game against Tokay. They lost 56-0. Really had trouble stopping Tokay's running back, Joseph Filippini, who is a stud, but they really struggled to stop him. 183 yards on only 10 carries. Now, West is a program that's in rebuilding mode. They're a team that's going to give you high effort. They're going to come play their hardest. They only had 19 players suited up last week, and only one was a senior. So, like I said, they're really in rebuilding mode, and they're young. They do, from what I hear, have a threat in running back Jamal Martin, and they have a pretty good linebacker in Connor Durant. Outside of that, I don't know too much about West, but I think they're really going to come in and give Lodi their best shot.
Yeah, they're going to come out there and they're going to play hard, and they're out there enjoying themselves because they get to play football again, and they get to play Lodi this week, and a Lodi run game that's going to be going strong, just like Tokay had a strong running game. These guys have a strong running game led by Christian Zamora. They got him, and he's going to be going. But then Merriman comes up, as the sophomore player, and he's making big-time plays right off the bat. Adolfo Sanchez is somebody that's super fast. They got all those guys in the run game, not to mention the quarterback can always run. They got Schallberger. He can throw. He's completing passes. So they got a good, potent offense. West is going to have to, really step up, but they got some good experience last week against Tokay, and they'll be ready. I think they'll have a good game plan to go against Lodi.
Well, Lodi this year, they play Lodi football. They're going to run the ball right at you and dare you to stop them. They do it now out of a pistol double wing look, but it's still hardcore running the football right at you with a solid pass game to go behind it. The one thing last week was they did have 5 turnovers, so they were a little sloppy with their option exchanges and such. I look for that to improve this week because they've had more practice. But yeah, Christian Zamora is a big-time player. He had over 1,100 yards and 14 touchdowns last year. And then Caden Merriman is a guy I've known since he was in about 6th grade. Always been a stud. His first touch in a varsity game last week, he took the opening kickoff back for a touchdown. He's explosive, hard worker. He is a problem. He's going to be a very good player here in the near future, and it looks like it's already happening. Other than those guys, they have a pretty big offensive and defensive line led by the 300-pound Sean Carpenter and Reggie Miles. Both guys are studs. Both guys can play both sides of the ball, and Reggie Miles can really get after your quarterback. and cause a problem with his penetration. Another big-time player they have is tight end and linebacker Isaac Bishop. He's a big kid. He goes about 6'3", 215, 220. So for a skill position guy at Lodi High, he's a big kid and he moves well. And he really caused a problem for Lynden. He played well against their sweeps, fly sweeps. Any time they tried to get Sherman outside, he was there. So he's a guy that causes a problem.
Yeah, I think Coach Duenas is going to have these guys clean up all those turnover problems. There's no way that this will, go into the next week. You expect that kind of in that week 1 game. You kind of expect some jitters and some mistakes, and they'll clean it up as they get going, which they need to do because they got, bigger games coming up down the road. So they need to keep getting better, and I think they will. And I think West is going to keep improving as long as they can stay healthy. They'll improve and build towards something next year. But I think the whole part of this game that's going to be the most concerning for West is stopping that run game. And if Lodi's run game gets going, it's going to be tough. But it's going to be a fun one to watch, Horst. I'm looking forward to getting a glimpse into this game.
Yeah, agreed. Lodi's got a good coaching staff. They play disciplined football. West is going to have their hands full, but I look forward to a spirited effort from those guys coming off last week.
Agreed. All right, Horst. Next up, we got McNair Eagles against the Franklin Yellow Jackets. Franklin had a very tight loss last week. Now they're looking to bounce back. Both teams need a win. McNair and the Yellow Jackets. What are we thinking?
Yeah, Coach Spatafor over there at Franklin is in the second year of a massive rebuild of that program. They were really hurting. Their numbers were dwindling. It had been years ever since they got in trouble for importing some players since they've been a relevant program. It looks like they're finally starting to take the first steps back from that. They did lose, but it was a close game, 24-20. And in recent years, they really haven't played many close games. So that was a solid sign for them. We do not know many players on Franklin. They have not put stats up online. So if you play at Franklin, know someone at Franklin, coach at Franklin, or just a fan of Franklin, hit us up. Let us know who on their team we should be looking out for. Stockton Record did not do a report on their game last week. So we're a little... we honestly don't know too much about them, and we would love to know because I'm sure there's some ballers on that team that we could highlight.
And send us some video, too. If we can get a link to watch some of the video, we'd love to do that and just get to know these players so we can get them out there so they can get the recognition that they deserve.
Now, on the other side of the coin, the McNair Eagles are a team with a lot of talent. Makes their score against Stagg last week. I was a little surprised they lost 43-21. Once again, haven't been able to watch any video on that, get any stats. Well, we have Staggs, but we did not get any from McNair. Talk about McNair a little bit, what you know.
Yeah, I think it's the guys that we, really like. Darius Bunn is a good linebacker. He plays physical and tough. And then you got, the Rhino, Josiah Scott on the line. Those guys we're familiar with. Those guys are big-time players. Bunn has a nose for the football. He always seems to find it. You see him and you think, how is he going to get there? And he gets there. He always finds the right lanes. He gets downhill and makes tackles. And he's very physical, big-time hitter. And Josiah is very physical up front. He makes plays, great blocker. He definitely keeps things in perspective as far as making sure he does everything right. He's trying to do everything right on the field and off the field. He's a good player. And he's going to, create holes against Franklin. Those are two guys that definitely... McNair fans can be, happy they have on their team.
Yeah, Josiah is the kind of kid that is going to go places because not only is he a heck of a football player, he's a heck of a young man. Mm-hmm. And he's a guy that we're looking forward to big things from. Shout out to the Rhino. They also feature quarterback Jalen Canton, who in limited action last year threw for over 600 yards and 6 touchdowns to only 1 interception. I've heard big things about him. I have not watched him play yet, but I've heard big-time things. And then on the defensive line, they have another one of our former guys, Jesus Garcia, who led the SJA last year with 20 tackles for loss and 14.5 sacks. He told me that he had 4 sacks in this game last week, so it looks like he's off to a good start. Overall, I think Franklin's going to give a great effort. but I think McNair just has a little too much talent for them.
Yeah.
Especially guys like Jesus and the Rhino getting after him on the defensive front, and Bunn out there at linebacker. I think they're going to be a problem. And I think McNair offensively, they always have a ton of speed. There's a reason people used to refer to them as Air McNair. They used to put up points in bunches, and I think they're going to get their offense back on track this week.
Yeah, and I want to see the stats because I want to see if they're airing it out to Jonathan Norrie, getting him down the field, over 6'3", tall. He can jump and get way up in the air and make plays. He is a definite threat down the field. Especially, they lost Devon Lewis. Now they have him. So I'm curious to see if they get him the ball and what he can do, and if he can be as impactful as I think he can. But it's going to be fun to watch. These two teams are going to battle it out, and somebody's going to get a W. Next up, we got Liberty Ranch Hawks against the El Dorado Cougars from El Dorado. That's Placerville horse. And this is going to be an interesting game because Liberty Ranch just played Union Mine, who happens to be the rivals of El Dorado.
Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting game. Liberty Ranch is one of the few teams around here to have played 2 games already. The first game, they really struggled. They lost big. This last week, they were actually leading with under 2 minutes left against Union Mine. And unfortunately, Union Mine was able to score and pull out the game, 22-21. They seem to have their effort was much improved the second week of the season. Liberty Ranch is a team we don't know crazy much about. They have not put another team that has not put stats up. We do know that they return running backs Tony Rangel and Gabriel Simios Ojeda, and both guys were pretty good players for them last year. So those are 2 guys to look out for. Also, whoever number 2 is.
Yep. Tremendous run last week. I got to see a little bit of the highlights of them versus Union Mine. They looked like they were playing well. They were actually leading that game and were in control, and Union Mine was able to pull it out. They are a good team. They always are. Every year they're kind of, stick there. They run hard. They play hard. They play good defense. They will be in this game no matter what. El Dorado is also somewhat of a mystery. We don't know much about them, but we do know that these 2 teams always come to compete, and they usually have very good talent. I've coached against El Dorado before, and they always put out good players, and some of the best players actually I've seen in the area. So this will be a fun one to watch, and I'm looking forward to getting to know more of them. Hopefully someone from Liberty Ranch will reach out to us and help us highlight their players. Maybe somebody that we know will reach out and let us know what's going down with Liberty so we can highlight them on the show.
Yeah, Liberty Ranch, hit us up. We're local. We want to know more about you.
Of course, Manteca is going to lock up with Ripon. Both these teams in the playoffs way deep last year. In fact, Ripon, state champions. This is one heck of a matchup.
Yeah, it sounds like a heck of a matchup, but I'm a little worried after last week. Ripon suffered a big loss to East Union. I looked more into it. They've lost pretty much every starter off that state championship team last year.
That'll do it.
But I'm sure they have good players coming up behind them, and they always are really well coached out there. I think this might be a team that the COVID situation really hurt with the lack of practice and so many new starters. I would look for Ripon to improve every week as the year goes along. They are not a team that will sit back and get beat like that every week. But they lost big-time players. They lost quarterback Nico Alardi, running back Grant Wiebe, and Danny Hernandez, who combined for pretty much all their yards and touchdowns last year. And that quarterback was a heck of a player. We saw him down at the section championship game. That Ripon team was really fun to watch.
Yeah, I actually went and watched them in the NorCal game and all that good stuff. And or maybe it was the state championship. I went with another coach. Yeah, I went to one and they played the team from down south. I believe it was the state championship game, and it was one heck of a game. The atmosphere was impressive, and they were such a good team. They executed exactly when they needed to execute to get it done and win. And that is a great coaching staff. If they have young guys, like you say, they will turn them around. It's just going to it's going to be a minute. If you had a full 10-game season, these guys would be somebody that you'd be worried about getting to the high level and getting into the playoffs and causing problems because they're that kind of team. But Manteca is no slouch. They are a very good team. They have a great running game. And Horst, tell us about who these running backs are, because Ripon's about to find out real quick.
Yeah, Manteca had a tight win in what was probably the game of the week last week, 44-38 over Kimball. They ran for over 350 yards. Like we talked about last week, Manteca is always going to be really well coached, always have a good line, and always have a good run game. There are years where they also have a good passing game to go with it. That kind of ebbs and flows. Last week, they only completed one pass, but it was for a 77-yard touchdown. So
efficient.
They're spearheaded by two good running backs in Khaled Robinson, who had 178 yards, and Lyon Cologne, who had 150 yards. The big thing they're going to need to work on is cleaning up those 4 turnovers that they made. But they're going to be a problem up front. They're always big, physical, and well coached. They got our guy, Jose Rios, the Wonder Boy, up there.
Yep.
He's going to be a problem for anyone who faces him. So Manteca's going to be they're always really well coached, ready to run the ball, ready to hit you right in the face.
Yeah, and they were very dominant up front against Kimball. I mean, they were moving, people around, moving the defensive line off their spots, and able to just power up and run. And then Manteca on defense did enough to stop Kimball. Safeties came up with big interceptions. They were able to make plays just enough to beat Kimball. Kimball has a prolific offense, and Manteca handled him. Manteca's defense is up to the task. This is going to be a fun game to watch. Can Manteca get that push and move Ripon off the spot and move the ball? If they do, they're going to get downhill, and it's going to be rough, but it's going to be fun to watch. Horse, next up we got the Chavez Titans against the Bear Creek Bruins. Let's talk about it.
Last week, Chavez was unable to play due to COVID test issues. It looks like this game's going to be played so far this week. I haven't heard that it won't, but we'll have to keep you guys updated on that. Bear Creek played Franklin last week and won 24-20. Both programs are programs that have a lot of talent. They're just trying to find their footing. There could be big potential on both teams. I know that at running back that Bear Creek has Brian Adams, and he's a stud. Mm-hmm. Now Chavez, on the other hand, they return a few good players. Skill position player Javante Foster had a pretty big year last year. Defensive end linebacker Daniel Silva had 11 sacks. He's coming back, and Justin Mam had 62 tackles from linebacker. Plus, they have gotten in pretty talented quarterback Brandon Wood. He transferred in from Stagg. So, he should help their passing game, maybe get the ball to Javante Foster a little bit. Outside of that, we do not really know much about either team.
Yeah, this is going to be a big game, though, because Chavez is going to be looking to get a win, and Bear Creek's trying to build off the win they had against Franklin last week. Whenever you get that win, you're trying to stack that momentum, and they're both going to be looking to do that this week. And these guys will be out there battling. This is, anytime it's two Stockton teams, is always very close to being a, crazy rivalry. These guys will be out there playing tough. This game will matter to everyone on the field, and they will give everything they got. There's one thing I can guarantee: there will be a lot of big hits in this one.
Oh yeah, this will be a physical game. Probably some fun athletic plays. Once again, if you play coach or just a fan of Bear Creek or Chavez, hit us up. Let us know what players we don't know about. Hit us with some game film so we can see some video of some good players, good plays. If you're a coach and want to come talk to us, hit us up.
Yep, looking forward to seeing the outcome of this game and getting to know these players a lot more.
Yep, there's always talent at both of these schools, so I'm sure there's some good players we'd like to feature.
Horse, the next game we got is a powerhouse Denair Coyotes against the Weston Ranch Cougars.
Well, the Coyotes are coming to town. They are Division 7, but they are a perennial dominant team at that level. They play real good football. Do not take them lightly. I don't care what division you are. They're almost always at or near the section championship game. They run the old school double wing, and they run it extremely well. If you do not play disciplined football against them, you will be in trouble. They are coming off a 49-3 loss to Orostimba last week, but they went 9-3 again last year, so I'm assuming Daenerys is going to be ready to play. Now, on the other hand, we have Weston Ranch, who is another one of those schools that's trying to find their footing. They have potential to have a really good program. They're in such a tough league with Manteca, Central Catholic, East Union, Sierra. I mean, just so many, Oakdale. There's just so many good teams. That league schedule can be unforgiving. But Weston Ranch does have one star player that we know extremely well.
Aaron Vickers. And he's going to be the big reason why Weston Ranch either wins this game or comes close to winning this game, because he can make people miss, and that's going to be the problem for Daenerys, is tackling him in space. If they can get Aaron Vickers out on the open field, he's going to cause problems. I wouldn't kick it to this guy ever during the game, because if you do, he's taking it to the house. He's a big-time player, and it's a contrast of styles. You got the wide-open offense with AV running it. You know, he's going to be out there causing problems. He's going to get the ball a lot. The athleticism of Weston Ranch against Daenerys running their very physical style, and a style that is confusing. If you get off your reads as a defense and you start looking at, the wrong way, and they get used to hitting you with that little power sweep, and all of a sudden they come back with a counter and it's a big-time touchdown. They did that in the state championship a couple years ago when I watched that at Liberty Ranch. They are going to be hard to beat. You have to be disciplined. So it's really a contrast of styles, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, I know Weston Ranch will really be looking forward to trying to pick up a win here.
Yeah.
But Daenerys, winning programs like that don't lose 49-3 very often. So they're going to be fired up, ready to play, get that bad taste out of their mouth. Should be an interesting matchup. Weston Ranch, coaches, players, update your max preps, put up videos, update your huddles. We want to see the players. We know there's more ballers at Weston Ranch than just AV. So let us know if you're around that program and you know of someone we can talk about.
Now it's time for Galt Warriors versus Rosemont Wolverines. Horse, this one's going down on Saturday at 11 a.m.
Yeah, Rosemont did not play last week, but they went 9-3 last year, featuring an explosive offense. Galt is a program that has been on the rise the last couple of years. They went several years, struggling, winning 0, 1, maybe 2 games. And now they've been right at 500 or even above the last few years, hoping to take that next step. But this is a tough second game of the season. They opened the season with an extremely tough game against Bradshaw Christian. Didn't go their way. So Rosemont threw for 25 touchdowns last year and also had a 1,500-yard running back. Now, good news, both those guys are gone.
Mm-hmm.
Also, they had a receiver that had 1,100 yards and 17 touchdowns last year. Good news, he's gone. But they do return receiver Darian Gooding, who was their second fiddle type athlete, who had 553 yards and 6 touchdowns as receiving as a sophomore. He's listed at 6'2". The guy sounds like a bit of a problem. He also had 6 interceptions on defense. So I think that's a guy we want to look out for in this game. They also feature excellent two-way running back linebacker Elijah Tyone, who had 82 tackles last year. He did not play much running back because the other guy ran for 1,500 yards. But from what they say, he's supposed to be a good running back as well. Now Galt, they're coming in. They lost a lot of their star power from last year, so they got some new faces. They're looking to put it together. This is a good test to see where they're at right now with Rosemont. Galt is another program. Hit us up if you know players on Galt. If you are a coach on Galt, hit us up so we can feature your players.
Yeah, this is going to be another tough game for Galt. They got Bradshaw Christian, and that is rough. Playing them on a Tuesday night and then now turning around and playing on Saturday against Rosemont is not going to be an easy schedule. That's a quick turnaround. Not a lot of preparation time, so they're going to have to get on it real quick. But you know what? At least these kids get to play football. But this is going to be another tough matchup. A lot of athletes at Rosemont, and that's going to be the big concern for Galt, is stopping these quick athletes in space and getting their run game going. If Galt can get their run game going, control the clock, they can hang into this game. If they can't, then Rosemont's going to get it going, and they're going to cause major problems for the Galt defense.
Yeah, and Galt is another one of those teams that unfortunately was really hurt by the COVID situation because their league is sort of all over the place, and they can't travel to those places to play their normal league, so they were stuck trying to find other games. They might have caught themselves in a couple of mismatches here, unfortunately. But like Ant said, if they run the ball good and do not turn the ball over, you have a chance in any ball game.
And as a head coach, sometimes you just don't have options. You come down to it, and you have to find a game because you want your kids to be able to play, and then you schedule against somebody that's really tough, and that could have happened here.
Yeah, we've been stuck in that situation ourselves. Like he said, at least the kids get to play ball. So, and it'll be a good learning experience for the younger guys. But hey, maybe they'll prove us wrong. Maybe they'll come out and play a great game.
Yeah, looking forward to watching what Galt can do against Rosemont. Horse, now it's a big-time matchup between Oakdale and Sierra. This one's going to have fireworks.
Yeah, it seems like every year, every game in this league is a big-time matchup. And that's because they are.
Yep.
Oakdale is coming off a very good win against a tough Escalon team, 38-35. Game was put away on a pick six, 92 yards by Titan Ginger. Once again, great football name.
Name of the week.
So they're out here. They're battle tested a little bit already, and they're ready to have a good game. Sierra comes off a 55-7 win. A little bit of a mismatch against Weston Ranch last week.
Yep.
Didn't have to work extremely hard for it. So we know some of the names on Sierra, but we still don't know quite what they're capable of. This game right here, we'll find out real quick what they're capable of. Oakdale will be ready, will be well coached, will be great up front, and the word is they have a little bit of a passing game this year.
Yeah, a lot of times they do now. I mean, they can kind of spread it out and go up tempo, or they can run the ball and run the wing tee and just run you to death. It really it's like pick your poison when you play them, and they're so well coached, and just the whole town's behind them, and they come out and they play. We used to go up there every year for a scrimmage when I coached, and it was the hardest hitting right off the bat. You just got really tough practicing and really tough games. They're fun to watch. Anytime I get an opportunity to watch them, especially if it's at the corral, you go up there and you watch it, and it's a lot of fun. Both these teams are going to be good, and they're going to be ready. And I think that Oakdale is just a monster that they're going to have to stop. And if they get it rolling, it's always scary with these guys. These guys are perennial powers. These guys are ones that always make noise in the playoffs. And it's usually shocking if they don't make it to the section title game. That's how good they are. It's just a different breed of football player in Oakdale.
Yeah, this, I know we've brought up some other big-time games, maybe higher division, but this definitely has the makings of game of the week. Oakdale is led by quarterback Jackson Holt and running back Zeke Safar, both big-time players. Safar is an explosive, hard-nosed running back who can go inside and outside. He is a problem. Now, Sierra actually has quite a few threats. They, of course, returned stud running back Kamoni Stanley, who just became Sierra's all-time leading rusher last week. They also have Zion Bell, who made quite a few plays last week, and Marcelo Morales, who is lightning fast and can score from anywhere on the field. And they feature a little bit of an enigma in quarterback Ryan Borgeson, who had not played in a football game since Pop Warner until starting a varsity game last week. He completed 3 passes out of 4, and all 3 were for touchdowns.
That's efficient. That's an impressive way to start. We talked about Escalon versus Oakdale, in our recap show, and Escalon is a good team, and they put up, 35 points on Oakdale. So the real question is, can Oakdale's defense hold up against Sierra? I think we're going to get a good idea of how good Oakdale's defense is. I bet you Oakdale's defense is going to tighten up. Those coaches are going to make adjustments. But Sierra has a potent offense. They scored big, and they scored often last week. So it's going to be we're going to find out where the rubber meets the road, which team has what, and if Sierra's offense is really that good, or if Oakdale's defense, can step up and make the adjustments. So that's why I'm interested in this game. I think it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, this game, like so many Valley Oak League games before them, will be decided by who wins in the trenches.
Yep.
And that's the kind of football we love.
Love it.
You can have your fancy speed football. This is our football. We like it when people hit. We like it when the game's decided up front.
Speed kills, Horst.
This is going to be a fun game to watch.
Oakdale's defense is built on speed.
True.
And they're going to be flying around, and they're going to be fun to watch. Those DBs are going to be flying around hitting people. It's going to be an impressive atmosphere, definitely. And thank you for watching the preview show. This was the very first preview show for the Cutback High School Football channel. Thank you for being here. We're excited to have you here. If you have any information on these teams, or if you would like to get your stuff featured on a recap show, make sure you hit the go to our email, cutbackfootball@gmail.com, and leave us the information. If you can get it to us by Saturday at 8 p.m. or on Sunday at 10 a.m. if you played on Saturday, that works. But we really want to have all the information so we can cover all the kids, highlight all the teams and coaches that are out there working, having fun, and just put a spotlight on, who's doing good things out there.
Yeah, if you notice, we're not here to criticize. We're not here to talk down on anyone. We truly want to feature the players that are making plays, the coaches that are doing a good job. There is no catch attached to this, to being featured on here. Please, if you have a player that we have not mentioned that you think we should mention, or if you're around one of the teams that we've said we don't have much info on, hit us up, email, comment on our YouTube, whatever you want to do, let us know.
Coaches, reach out to us. We're more than happy to work with you, interview you, whatever, just get you out there, get your name out there, get the players that are on your team out there so we can help you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and the channel, like and comment, all that good stuff. Let us know what you think of what we're doing, and if you have any ideas for us.
Thanks for watching again, guys.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.